Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. Well, everybody, I got a special show here for you today. I got a guest star, my new friend here, Shadow Raptor. Shadow Raptor, what do you want me to call you? Which is better?
Yeah, Shadow Raptor's fine.
Shadow Raptor. Well, he's a friend of mine here at school, and he's also a big Power Ranger fan like me. Don't know if he's as big a fan as me, but we'll find out today.
Well, I only got back in recently, so you probably can say that you're a bigger one than I am right now.
Yeah, I've consistently done it for 20 years, so... No,
I can claim consistent 20 years off Pokemon, but not Power Rangers.
And that's a topic for another time. Alright, so what we're going to go ahead and do today is Shadow Raptors come in with a topic. And basically what we're going to do is a little bit different than the standard format. We're going to do best and worst Zords or Megazords in Power Rangers history. We have each come up with our top 3 favorite and top 3 worst. And we're just going to mention them, describe why we like them, and then kind of go from there. And before we get started, Shadow Raptor, I actually have a little quiz here for you.
Alright, hit me.
Alright. Of the standard Megazords, the first Megazords they get in each season, which one is the tallest? So no Super Train or anything, I'm saying the standard first Megazords from each season. Which one is the tallest?
Standard first Megazord. I am completely drawing a blank.
Standing at 78.5 meters is the Zeo Megazord.
That makes perfect sense. Everything in Zeo was huge.
Have an idea of what the shortest Megazord was?
I just wanted to guess the original Dino Megazord.
41.7 meters tall, which frankly doesn't sound that big when you look at it. It's like pretty short, but just a little bit of trivia for you there, guys. I found this online, and I like to think it's accurate. So,
I mean, just look at it. It looks like a midget mecha, especially compared to the buildings around it.
Yeah, I would say that. And of course, I think we can all agree the tallest has to be the Super Train. Don't have any information to back that up, but come on, what is taller than the Super Train?
You just got to compare it to the monsters around it. That's how. I mean, who knows? Maybe the monsters got shorter and the Super Train's actually tiny.
All right, so let's get started into the actual podcast right now. I'm going to go ahead and start out with my first favorite, and this is not in any particular order. I just listed 3. Actually, it's in chronological order, so there you are. But my first favorite Megazord is the Thunder Megazord. Now, I know that the original Megazord is classic, but there's just something really elegant about the design of the Thunder Megazord. And, you know, just the fact that, first of all the Zords can fly is just awesome. That you have a dragon that can change into robot mode and then gets samurai armor. Oh, looks like somebody's...
Yeah. Let me take care of that. But please continue.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's just awesome. It didn't have a lot of different attacks. I think it had, like, the smoke screen from the chest. Didn't have all the laser stuff. It just looks really cool. I really liked it. And you know, I'd say the Mega Tigazord is probably cooler, but, you know, we didn't really see it that often. It was, like, maybe 6 or 7 episodes in Season 2.
I would have to disagree on the Tigazord looking better. I maybe just because I prefer the variation in color that we get from the Thunder Megazord.
A lot of gold in it, though.
Yeah, gold, but I just like variation more than just the standard white and silver of the Tiger Megazord. But
the Mega Tigazord does have more attacks. It can still shoot fireballs. Has that cool Phoenix attack.
That is true.
But I just like the idea of the Thunder Megazord is the standard Megazord, and again, it's a Samurai Megazord. Before we had the Samurai Megazord, you could really call it more of the Samurai Megazord than what we got in Samurai and Super Samurai.
Oh god, don't even get me started on that Samurai one.
And of course, like the Thunder Dino Megazord before it, it has a carrier mode. It has the platform, which is just awesome. They should have used that more often.
That's something I liked about the Zeo Zords too, that just this glorious fleet instead of just one big pile of robots.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, my first one, Thunder Megazord. And, all right, so tell me your first favorite Megazord.
All right, so the first thing that I was immediately able to think of was the Q-Rex.
Yes, Q-Rex. Why?
The Q-Rex is just, I just think it's a beautifully designed mecha in at least the dinosaur mode. I think that's the sort of mecha designs that we should have gotten out of the first season. Now, granted, suit technology improved over time, but that one looks more to me what the fury of a dinosaur encapsulated in a mecha should be like. In fact, there was this tabletop RPG game I played where pretty much my mecha copied the Q-Rex. So, I'm a big fan of auxiliary Zords because they get to break the rules more than the standard Megazords.
Okay, so I like the Q-Rex too, but I'm going to disagree with a few points for you. Of all the different Tyrannosauruses we have seen throughout Power Rangers, and that even goes up to Cryo Ranger now, I still think that the original Tyrannosaurus is the best Tyrannosaurus dinosaur. Now, the Q-Rex has all those weapons on there, but it always looked odd to me just how he was running. Like, you could tell that thing was on wires and was never touching the ground.
Okay,
that was a little funky.
I will concede to you on that point.
And the only thing I guess I really didn't like about the Q-Rex was it didn't combine with any other Zords. And I love Zords that combine with others, can form multiple combinations and all that kind of stuff, other than just put another arm and a leg onto it. But if the Q-Rex could have combined with the Time Shadow and the Time Force Megazord into some giant Zord, I mean, that would be awesome. Again, it's not that I don't like it, but it's just those points that keep it away from being like one of my favorites. You know?
That definitely is true, but if you think about it, thematically, it almost seems appropriate just because of, it was Eric, right? Yeah, Eric's antagonism towards the Time Force team up until the end.
Yeah, and you could draw a lot of parallels with the fierceness of the dinosaurs, and then the fact that you got two opposite points in history, prehistory and the far future. So that worked in. So yeah, I mean it was great. Again, just if you could only combine with other Zords, that would have made it really awesome. Well, okay, so yeah, the Time Force Megazord rode on top of it, but that doesn't count. That doesn't really count. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to my second favorite. I really dig the Astro Megazord.
Okay, I am right there with you on that one.
See, now I'm also a big fan of Star Trek and Star Wars. More Trek than Wars. That's the side I would choose. And I just like the idea of having a starship become a robot, and this is also a mobile command center for them. You have the semi-deck on there, you have your replicator, you have your living quarters, you have everything. You can go anywhere with it. You don't have to be limited to one location. And they've had other bases like that, like in Gokaiger, the Gokai Galleon is pretty much the same way, but it's not as cool as the Astro Megaship because it's a starship, it can go through space, it has the shuttle, the Galaxy gliders in it, the mega tanks in there somewhere. It's just awesome to have a starship with all those different things. I mean, do you realize how many missions the Cisco could have won in Dominion War if the Defiant could turn into a Megazord?
And to add on to your point, one thing that I really liked about the Astro Megaship is that it's refreshing to have a Zord that isn't pieced up of the 5 smaller pieces.
Yeah.
Now, I like combining Megazords as much as the other guy, but I found this to be very unique in a good way, to quote Linkara.
Yeah, it's the first time we've had 2-piece Megazord like that.
And you may as well just consider it one, because no one really claims ownership of those 2 pieces.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't until the Mega Voyager that everybody had their single Megazord. Prior to that, technically the Megaship belonged to Andros, and he had the Delta Megazord. And that, that's still another cool one right there, the Delta Megazord. But, it was really, if you went from Chasing the Space Part 2 up to From Out of Nowhere, the very first episode, you're just kind of blown away about how things have changed. But they were a refreshing change. It just wasn't rehashing the same thing, which if Turbo had a greater sin than Justin, would be they was just rehashing old things. It wasn't moving forward, which, and I know we both love when Cartwright here, like he said, that was the big problem. They didn't step forward, they stepped back in Turbo. But definitely Power Rangers in space. I just love that Megazord. It's just so cool. You know, again, Power Rangers, Star Trek.
I really love all of the Zords in space. You know, I don't have any on my list. I think they're all great. The Mega Winger is great too.
Yes. All right, what's your second favorite?
All right, my second one I put down was the Jungle Pride Megazord from Jungle Fury.
Okay.
And again, this ties back into me liking Zords that break the mold. While most Megazords are bulky and face it, all basic Megazords are swordsmen, aside from a few exceptions.
Yeah.
I like this one because it is agile. First, when I was watching the first episode of Jungle Fury, I was just amazed when that thing started. Was it the first? I forget.
It was probably the second episode, yeah.
But the first time that they busted out the Megazord, I was astounded how that thing was leaping all over the place, and I also dig how they control it. Because a lot of times how Rangers control the Megazord makes no sense. But
Giant swords,
steering wheels, levers.
Pirate wheels.
Yes. But this one, it mimicked the moves of the Rangers, and that's about the way to pilot a Megazord that makes the most sense out of all the ways that we've seen so far.
Now, I like it too. It's one of my favorite toys that I actually have. But I hate to go ahead and rain in a parade, but here are two things that I do have with it that keeps it from being my favorite. Okay, first of all, like you said, it's not a swordsman. It doesn't have a sword. It has that 3-section staff, which I forget the name of it in Japan. I just think that's like a weird weapon for a Megazord. It's not a gun. It's not a sword. It's just a staff that breaks into 3 parts. And I think other than the first or second episode, they didn't use that again. Because really, Jungle Fury had the problem of introducing things earlier than what they did in the Sentai footage, mainly because they had limited episode run, and apparently us Americans aren't patient enough with some of these Zords. So that was just like one little thing that bothered me. But it also has the tendency of 75% of the Megazord is the Red Ranger Zord.
Okay, I completely agree on that part.
I mean, it works in some cases. It worked for the Ninja Storm Megazord, just because that was really cool with the lion and all that. But, you know, again, I like it. It just, I don't like the idea that the other two are just the legs. And you don't have much customability with it, because like the other Zords are like armor to it, but it'd be cool if you just like take off the arms, the torso.
That's what the Dino Thunder Megazord did, because yes, the Red Ranger Zord was most of it. Yeah. But you could swap out the other pieces. But with the Jungle Fury Megazord, you're completely right. What are you going to do, swap out his shins?
Yeah. And I agree, because the best thing about, Jungle Fury and Geiki Ranger, which is based off of, is the martial arts aspect. Mm-hmm. And that works well into it for that series. But I think in the context of all Megazords, it's just a little off. It's unique with it. It's a unique entry. Again, just those two little things, but yeah, I definitely agree. That's a pretty good Megazord. So, okay, so it's time for my last one, and this one might be a bit of a shock, but I really like the Battlefleet Megazord.
Refresh my memory. Which one?
Operation Overdrive. Okay. The big battleship.
Okay, alright, I'm looking at that toy on your shelf, and I can see why you like it.
Yeah, okay, I just love the idea of aquatic Zords. Now, that's something the Power Rangers has not had, really. The Dragon Zord technically is not an aquatic Zord. It's just in the ocean. But you don't see a lot of boats that they have in there. And I just love the idea that it's a battleship. It has all of these weapons onto it. My favorite shot in all of Operation Overdrive, and probably Power Rangers, is where Moltor's pterodactyls are firing at it while it's in the water, and it's just shooting in all these directions, and the camera's just kind of like panning around it, kind of like 180. And it looks better in high definition when you watch Boat Ranger, but it's still the same effect. Just this massive battleship out in the ocean firing, and then it can roll up on the land as a tank. And then it can be this giant robot with these steamroller fists. And I know I'm going against what I usually say. I like the combinations and stuff. You can technically do the combinations with the toys and all that. But beyond that, it's just the solid
So there's no
piece.
in-show comics? I haven't watched anything of Operation Overdrive outside of Once a Ranger.
They don't connect it at all unless the Drive Max Megazord's right on top. That's pretty much what it is. And they don't even really use the individual Zords themselves. Like when I bought the toy of it, it actually says like the black one, the Black Ranger Zord can carry tons of cargo, like it's mostly hollow, and that the Red Ranger Zord has improved sensors where it can scan things better than anything. It had all these great details coming off of Bokanger, but none of it was utilized in Operation Overdrive, and that's the real disappointment right there.
Okay, so I'm going to have to watch more of Operation Overdrive. See, I've only watched Once a Ranger, and I don't know, from what I've heard on fan sites, it sounds pretty low.
It's underrated is what I would go ahead and say. But again, I'm that person that says RPM sucks, so...
Ooh, we'll get into that later.
Definitely. So, no other thoughts about Battlefleet? Just,
No, I just really have no basis to form opinions on.
Okay, fair.
I say, if you can find the link, I think you should totally post a link to that scene that you just described. I think the viewers love that.
Okay. All right, so what's your final favorite that you listed?
My final favorite is the Shogun Sword.
The Shogun Zords, yes. All right, and why?
All right, this comes solely from not something that didn't actually happen in the show. It came from me one day seeing some just beautiful, glorious fan art that basically showed the concept of the Shogun Zord fully realized. That of a Japanese castle that has stood up and is ready to fight evil.
That is pretty cool, because I think it was a Japanese castle in Kaku Ranger, wasn't it?
I'm sure it was.
Although, interesting fact, in Kaku Ranger, they had the Shogun Zords first, then they got the Ninja Zords later. I don't know why we got it backwards. It probably had something to do. We had 6 Rangers to begin with, and all that, and we were used to animals because those were the first. Other than the Dragon Zord and the Tiger Zord, those were like the first humanoid Zords that we ever had in Power Rangers.
And maybe that's the reason, because the Shogun Zord was composed of humanoid pieces, and bringing the Ninja Zords first helps smooth the transition. Because you went from dinosaur-shaped Zords to mythical animal-shaped Zords. So animal-shaped, and so maybe they went with animal-shaped just so it's not going from animal-shaped, human-shaped, animal-shaped.
It would have been interesting if they had done that in the movie, if we had the humanoid Shogun Zords. Not that it would have made the movie, I think, any better or worse. It would have just been interesting to go ahead and see it. You know, they definitely could have done some motion capture with that. But yeah, I love the Shogun Zords. They're just like... Did you ever play Power Rangers The Fighting Edition for the Super Nintendo, or are you too young for that?
I played an emulator of it a few years ago. Otherwise, it was a bit too young.
That is... The Shogun Megazord is just awesome in that game. You can lift up the other Zords and toss them, except the Shogun, because it's so massive, it's so huge.
Beautiful.
And it has that fire sword. And
yeah, honestly, I think that is probably one of the coolest of the Megazord swords.
And I tell you, the only thing I hate about it is that we in America got screwed with the toy release. So, do you know about this? You know what I'm talking about?
I used to have that toy, but I don't know.
Do you remember the pink Shogun Zord?
Yes.
That's why we got screwed, and that's why I had to spend $400 to buy it from Japan just to get the damn white Zord. I don't know. They didn't. Bandai has been on a slow decline. Really hit rock bottom in these couple of years. That was like the first example of them really screwing up with something. Well, then repainting the line Thunder Zord all black.
Honestly, Why Bandai screws up on the American releases is beyond me, because
Yeah.
they're releasing the toys on both sides of the Pacific. They just reuse the molds.
Yeah, you would think, but okay. Well, we went through our favorites. I think we both kind of nitpicked a little bit of the different choices, but that's still fine. But now we're going to get into the real meat of this and get into Megazords we think are just the worst. Don't look appeasing, don't really have a lot of interest, and just like, you giving me that, Zordon? I don't want that.
Yes, this will be fun. I'm looking forward to disagreements here.
Alright, so the first one that I put as my worst is the Transwarp Megazord.
Refresh my memory.
Okay, so when they summon the time jets from the future, the giant fist that smacks it through the gates.
Okay, see, I didn't even think that counted on this list, but
it's a Zord. It was in Movie Madness. I was like the only time I actually fought. Okay, I have the toy back at home. It's cool to have because you just do, but I don't like the asymmetry of it because it's got standard size hand and this massive hand on the other side. I don't like the idea of the concept. I mean, yes, it's a great visual seeing it punch it through, but
time travel, yeah.
Who in the year 3000 thought it was a good idea? All right, we got to send these through. How are we going to propel them? Let's get a giant robot in the middle of the city to just punch it in the butt and send it out. I just don't get that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Probably the same people that thought cars would make good Megazords.
Well, that one's debatable in some cases, and again, it doesn't transform into anything. It doesn't connect to anything. The only thing you can even do with the toy is like swing the arm and bring the visor down. That's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, and I think I am agreeing with you there because it's a really cool concept, and yet it's used for nothing more than an image that doesn't make sense.
Well, it's just that image at the beginning, when you see it, I mean, like, that's cool, here it comes. But when you practically think about it, that's when it becomes really weird.
Exactly. You probably make a catapult that accomplishes the same thing with a lot less resources and energy spent.
And I hate to be that guy, but I do wonder if it is they were just trying to sell toys in Japan, because that's kind of where it started. Because they did have, again, I got the toy, it's a whole base where you can put the jets in there, you can have the time gate. And actually, that's the only interesting thing about it, is that it does have the gate connected to its back, and it comes out and it has the portal. So it would be the only Megazord that could actually time travel by itself, that's pretty much the only interesting feature of it, I would say.
Wow, I didn't know that about the toy. That is really cool. But yes, I'm in complete agreement.
All right, I gotta hear your first worst one. Let's see what it is.
Okay, I'm cheating on this one.
Okay.
Because I put all Ultrazords.
All Ultras, every single one of them.
Maybe not every single one of them, but the majority. Because if otherwise, this would have taken up all three of my spots.
Okay.
My problem with Ultrazords, I would say that the first Ultrazords are exempt from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Okay.
Ultrazords, to me, end up looking like poorly designed piles of Megazords.
All right.
I think the absolute worst ones are the RPM Ultrazord and the Samurai Ultrazord.
Okay.
Those things they're just so haphazardly designed, and honestly, the one from Go Busters is even worse, but that's not eligible.
Well, okay, let's kind of go through each season.
Okay.
Because we got the time here. So the first Ultrazord with Titanus.
Mm-hmm.
You like that? That's good.
Yeah, because we talked about this earlier, the idea of a fleet or a Megazord looking like it was riding something.
Yeah.
So that's cool because it's basically like the Mega Dragon Zord hopped in and is riding on it.
And he's got extra armor too, because if you look at it, he's got the extra like cannons on the front and the gauntlets and all that.
Basically it's like him hopping in a tank.
Yeah, and okay, so that one's good. Now I'm going to say the Thunder Ultrazord, it is a little bit lazy, because it's not really a new combination. It's just Tiger Zord in Tor and the assault team on top, and then they just drop on the enemy. That is kind of weak.
Weak and yet so completely epic.
It's fun, yeah.
To Guma stomp the enemy.
Exactly. Now, the Ninja and Shogun Ultrazords are horrible. Because, again, they were insulting our intelligence by putting the toys on the screen and connecting it with Titanus. That was bad. And if you watch the footage now, you can definitely see it. I mean, I'm not saying I can see anybody's hand in the background, but yeah, that's the toy. You can tell that those are stickers on there.
Which makes me wonder, why, if they wanted to reuse an old toy, why didn't they just make a new toy?
Well, and I understand...
Were they reselling Titanus at the time?
Yes, they were. They did have it was the return of Titanus. It was exactly the same that we had before. Nothing was different about it. But I don't know why you need an Ultrazord, because, again, this was a time when the movie came out, and you could have sold a lot more movie merchandise than selling Titanus. The only benefit was to pick it up if you didn't buy it a few years ago. At least at that point. But okay, now the Zeo Ultrazords, they're
that one's not a mess. So because
you got two modes. You got two modes of the Ultrazord.
Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about the robot mode of the Zeo Ultrazord.
Yeah. Just
because that thing looks so clunky.
Well, it's not really supposed to move, which is the odd thing, because it technically looks like it has legs and arms, but it's really just connecting in the Zords for battery power to shoot this massive beam, which is cool. But I know where you're going with the carrier mode, where they're all on top, which was only used once, but it was still cool. Let's see here. So we got Zeo. Turbo didn't have an Ultrazord.
No,
Space didn't have an Ultrazord. Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, Time Force, Wild Force, Ninja Zord. Ninja Storm was the next time we had an Ultrazord, and I would say that one's pretty clunky with the Mammoth Revolver, and that one was kind of odd because that Hurricane Megazord is just massive, and you can't tell what is what and what connects to what. Although I still want to buy it. You can actually buy it for like $500 in Hawaii, so I know what I'm saving my money for. Let's see, so Ninja Storm. Now, what we get after Ninja Storm is that we don't get Ultrazords, but we do get multiple Zords connecting.
They're basically Ultrazords.
Yeah, I mean, Dino Thunder had one. SPD didn't have one. Mystic Force didn't have one. Operation Overdrive. They had the Drive Max Ultrazord, which is awesome. I do really like that. Although I don't think you should be given the Ultrazord title, because to me, an Ultrazord is where you take every single Zord that you have and combine it into one.
Yes, yes.
Now, to get to the RPM and Samurai points, now I have all these toys at home, and they are awesome. Just to connect them and have
now that's
because they're like 2 feet tall basically and weigh like 10 pounds each. But when you do look at practically, like within the show, it is terrible. Yeah.
But something I will say about the Samurai Gigazord, the scene in Shinkanger where it's blown apart layer by layer.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so just chugging on and boom, one part goes off, boom, another part goes off.
But that just shows what's wrong with the concept, because it is just a pile.
It doesn't walk. It doesn't really move. It is kind of like a tank. You can technically roll it, but I mean, it's at a severe disadvantage, especially in a series where you're talking about sword play.
Yes,
you can't have a giant mess of Zords that's really immobile. It's a cannon-based Zord. And even Goanger. The weird thing about that, the finishing attack they have on the Garrick President is they turn it into a giant bird, a phoenix, and crash right through it. Which makes no sense within the context of the series or anything. It's just you can't move that damn thing to do anything. So yeah, I definitely understand what you mean about the Ultrazords. Some are good, some are bad, but it just needs to be a little bit more mobile. It needs to be tank based somehow.
It needs to be more intuitively designed.
Yes,
the tank thing works because you do not expect superior mobility from a tank. You expect superior mobility from a humanoid. Yeah. So yes, I do. I despise the RPM and Samurai Ultrazords.
I'm going to go ahead and move on to my second one here. And I don't really hate this one. It's just so underwhelming. Okay. And that's the Lightspeed Megazord.
Yes, I am with you there.
I mean, okay, so it makes sense in this season that they are vehicles because it's a military organization.
Yes.
Once again, quoting Linkara here. And I understand the rescue aspect, but I just don't get the Megazord. It looks tiny. It looks unimpressive. The only attacks that it has is extending its arms out, and then the sword. And, it has lasers on top of its head. That's the one thing. Why doesn't it ever just fold those things down and shoot it? That's what I want to know. Now, when it connects to the Max Solar Zord, then it's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But by itself, it has very little armaments. It shoots water cannons in one form, which is just kind of... Yeah, I mean, I understand it's Lightspeed Rescue, but how practical is that against, demons most of the time? Which, the demons
are afraid of water.
So why wasn't that utilized more? That is something that is a bit odd when you think about it that way.
Yeah, exactly. But, why did they just skip to the Super Train?
Yeah, Super Train would, but if they just had the Super Train as a standard, Lightspeed Rescue would be the best ever.
Yeah, I agree. Super Train is amazing, but yeah.
Odd that we didn't put it on either of our lists, but I think we just have a lot more interesting ones that we want to put up on top there. But, so I mean, any other thoughts about the Lightspeed Megazord?
I really don't have much thoughts on it because it doesn't really inspire much thought.
Exactly. That's the point. Just bleh.
Okay, so I guess moving on to my second least favorite, the Delta Squad Megazord from SPD.
Okay, let's see here.
My problem with it is, I find the sirens on it to look tacky.
Okay.
And second, and this is the big thing that just made me despise it, was its use of a small pistol as its main weapon. And I hate that Matrix-style leap it does, that John Woo-style leap it does.
Okay, I agree with you that is a little weird.
Coming from a Megazord, it looks so dumb, especially since it's a bulky Megazord. You probably get away with that on the Jungle Pride Megazord because that thing is slender, but not on that bulky thing.
It is rather gimmicky, I will say that, because it has giant-sized handcuffs, which I don't really know why you need those. It does have a sword. I mean, that's okay. And what I like about the gun is how they draw it. It's in the leg. They open up the leg compartment, and the gun comes out. That
reminds me of Evangelion.
And actually, if you look at it's actually got the color signals on red, green, and blue, or red, green, yeah. I forget how they do it in Japan, but it's got these colors, so it's nice attention to detail. But yeah, I can see it. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't like it, that it's the worst Megazord, but it is one of the underwhelming ones. Considering you got the Delta Command Base, which is just a beast, and that's pretty awesome. Even the Max Soul, not the Max Soul, the Omega Cycle Zord. You want to call it the Omega Megazord, but that was already taken.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I can see where you're coming with it. It is underwhelming. It's
like I said, the gun attack was what really killed it for me.
I just love the idea that they're actually ducking behind buildings for cover.
Yeah, let's protect the city.
Although, of course, it could just be in the abandoned warehouse district, as every city has.
Good thing no one was in that building. Thank you, Z.
Yeah. Oh, geez, now I remember...
What season was it where the monster had just gotten grown and he shouts, "I hate abandoned buildings"?
I know what you're talking about.
Smashes one.
I want to say it was SPD. It might have been SPD. SPD or Dino Thunder, one, two. I know which show that's from Linkara. Linkara, you are the man for giving us this information, but I see your point.
Actually, I got that one from TV Tropes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to check that one out again. Okay. So I'm going to give my last Megazord right here. And again, this one's just underwhelming. It looks tacky. This Megazord, to me, is more of a bootleg Megazord you would probably find somewhere than a real Megazord. And that is the Galaxy Megazord.
Okay, you took my last one. So
just to spend the rest of the time talking about the Galaxy Megazord?
Yes.
Okay, so The idea they're organic beings that can become machines. All right, interesting concept.
Cool concept, yes.
Except they don't look like real animals. They look like plush toys
and that
are walking around.
Condor at all. Like,
exactly. That's another thing I'm going to get into eventually.
It's a Sentai, but anyways.
I thought it was a dragon in the Sentai. I think it's a dragon.
Well, it was most certainly not a condor.
It had arms. And somebody please tell me what species of condor has arms. I don't think the California condor does.
And which one doesn't have feathers either.
Exactly. It has green scales. But yeah, they look like plushies. And then when they get together, they don't really have a lot of individual attacks. That's something I always have a problem with, is like they should go straight to Megazord. To me, it should always be divide and conquer. Which I wonder if they should do more humanoids, because then they can actually,
Yeah, Mystic Force got to use that.
Those were pretty cool. The Titan Zords and all that. But yeah, so they change into these robots, and they look... I know they're supposed to be based on shapes. Like, you can tell that the Red Ranger got a square motif going on. It looks like it was made of blocks. And then you got the Wolf Zord, which is made of triangles, so it's got a real angular shape. But they just look awful. They look dull.
It looks like a market knockoff of the original Megazord.
Exactly.
That was my thought.
Yeah, it just like... Again, it's underwhelming. And then when you get together, you have the chest area, which is lacking anything. What I thought was similar is when I bought the toy back in 1999, it had the gold stripe on the Zord, and you had to put a white sticker on top of it. And my grandmother, who would always help me put those together, she just would look at it and go, "Why are you putting the sticker over the gold? That doesn't look good." And I'm like, "Yeah, I agree."
Instructions.
And then, of course, it doesn't combine with another Zord at all. The only accessory you can get to it is the Lights of Orion, which does make it look cooler, but that's it.
But it shouldn't need an addition to be cool in the first place.
Well, I mean, if you had, like, if the Toro Zord could be, like, armor for it.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
Exactly. Or... That's the problem with the Galaxy Zords. I didn't want to say all the Galaxy Zords, because I like the Centaurus and the Strato Force. They're pretty cool for what they are. But none of them combined, even though they're all supposed to be from the same species. Because, so Dr. K can create her own Zords in RPM.
Yeah.
And Vengeance can make a completely different battleship, skyship, which she can magically change to combine with the new Zords. And yet the Galaxy Zords, which are all apparently the same species of giant star beasts, cannot combine whatsoever.
I like to think that Dr. K discovered Gurren Lagann technology, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, some of the ways they explain it connects is pretty... it's really lazy. I mean, I'm sure, again, in the Japanese Sentai, there's better explanations, but they really do butcher in America for whatever story purposes they're trying to do.
Well, I mean, in Go On, so they are all the same species because they're all those engineers.
Exactly, they're all from the machine world. But, I can't think... I've never seen Gigaman, so I don't know what their explanation is, but I would also say that season didn't... Of any Power Ranger season, I'd say the one that didn't focus heavily on selling toys probably would be Lost Galaxy. Just because of the way the Zords are, the fact that it's a space opera kind of thing. Because they never sold a Terra Venture toy. I'm really upset about that. Yeah, I would love a Terra Venture toy. That would be awesome to have the different domes and If they can make Unicron, why can't they make Terra Venture? So is there anything about it that you don't like that...
My big problem with it is just that it just seems so lazy. And there's just does not look unique. Like I said, it just seems like a bootleg knockoff of the Dino Megazord that was made with other animals just so they could dodge the copyrights of the dinosaur.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind animals as Zord. I mean, the series that got it right was Wild Force. But there just seems to be this gap between In Space and Lightspeed Rescue, because we can both agree, I think, most of the Zords in those series, other than Lightspeed Megazord, were awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
But you got this in-between of these just really clunky, weird Zords that don't combine. And even Zenith, I tell you what I was really upset about Zenith, is that it doesn't actually hold the toys. You can't actually store them in there. They have these little micro machine things that are supposed to be in its place. So so that whole line was just pretty lazy. But the Galaxy Megazord is definitely by far the worst because it lacks anything interesting about it.
And I want to go back to what you said about Wild Force. That gets the concept down so excellently. I think Wild Force has some of the best design Zords. I know I didn't include any Wild Force Zords.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
But it just uses the multiple Zord concept so well.
Yeah.
Just because different Zords are able to utilize them. There's fights over the Zords going back and forth.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I like how it was used again in Dino Thunder.
Yeah, although to less success in my opinion, though.
Yeah, and I think that's more because there wasn't as many.
Yeah, like there weren't enough dinosaurs out there.
Exactly. In fact, you could have used the concepts of dinosaurs to make cooler weapons, I think, than just modern animals. And that looks like something that Kyoryuger is getting better, but...
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. We're only about 5 episodes in, and I'm still reserving judgment on that. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go into this before we go ahead into today's video.
Okay.
Just, let's say you're in charge of making the next Power Ranger, or in this case, Sentai season, since essentially all those orders do come from Sentai.
All right.
And you're in like a market, say you say, I want this kind of Zord. I want these ideas implemented in there.
Okay.
What would you want to see in a Zord? And whether that be on the show, within the toy form, just, what appeals to you that you would want to buy and watch on television?
Okay, so what I would actually want to buy and watch on TV, I would just want to take the Dino Thunder / Abba Ranger and just fix that idea. Make it more like the Wild Force things where the multiple Zords was handled well. The whole auxiliary power-up Zords.
Okay.
Because I really like that. I love the idea of upgrading your Zord instead of just getting a new one.
Okay. I think I see what you're saying here. So you're saying like... Now, what do you mean by upgrade? Explain that to me.
In that they keep their same Zord, but that they unlock some new power-up because it's like an evolution.
I see. Okay. Okay. So, like, if you did Dino Thunder right, how would you have, like, changed it, I guess?
Well, I would have... First of all, I would have made more of them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, definitely.
Just like how in Wild Force. And I would vary the upgrades. Such as, the Dragon Zord, a flying upgrade. That's cool. Have maybe some more like things like that. Maybe to go back to what you said about the Zords in Operation Overdrive. Take a Plesiosaur, turn that into a Zord. Give it an aquatic upgrade.
Yeah, it's something with boats, submarines, or something. They need to do the whole Power Ranger or Sentai season like under the ocean, like Super Sentai Ocean Ranger,
or Aqua Force in America.
Exactly. The thing I really want to see in Zords, and this was a rumor years ago, and I don't remember if it was applying to Geiki Ranger or Go-Ranger or Shinkenger. It was one of the three, but there was a rumor that each Ranger would have their own humanoid Zord that would form into a Megazord, and it would be like the Shogun Megazord, so 2 legs, 2 arms, and the torso. And depending on who was in the torso would determine the ability of the Zord.
Okay.
So, like, and this is top of my, I don't think this was part of the rumor, this is top of my head. Like, if the Pink Ranger Zord was in the center, then the Megazord would have flight. Sort of like what they did with the battle helmets with the Zeo Megazord.
Yes, or, for that matter, the modes of the Time Force Megazord.
Exactly. I would like to see the ability to take multiple combinations, because also keep in mind, Time Force is the only series today, this is Sentai and America that I'm aware of, that has 2 modes for one Megazord, a red and a blue, an alpha and a beta version.
The only Zord that has 2 forms, but if we want to talk about Sentai and Power...
Well, technically it has 3 forms, it has the jet mode.
Okay, because I was going to say, we have Gozyujin in Gokaiger, which has...
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like 2 different Megazord forms that have different abilities.
Okay, different abilities, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that
is a really cool idea, because it gives off the idea that each team member can
contribute something interesting.
Yeah, instead of just because basically half the time it's the red that's most of the mecha.
And on the Go Buster, what you said the other night was, the thing I love about the Go Buster Cheetah is it first has 3 forms: robot, cheetah, car.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
I was hoping that the other Rangers would have something like that.
Yes,
because
I agree.
each of the 3 main ones have had their own Megazord, and then those 3 Megazords could combine into one. Wouldn't it be awesome if, in a Power Ranger series, each Ranger had their own Megazord, one-piece Megazord, and then when they call in Auxiliary Zords, each Auxiliary Zord can connect to each Megazord and create a new Megazord.
And that is a great idea. And just think of the toy possibilities
That's mainly what I'm thinking about.
The marketing guys should love that.
If they're talking about selling toys, are they not able to come up with these concepts? Because, I hate these collectible things. I hate the engine souls. I hate the beast batteries. I don't want those. I want to just collect the Zords themselves.
Although I'm seeing some Ranger keys over there on the shelf.
I have one Ranger key, and that came free when I bought one of my mecha, and I forget which one it came with. I think it came with when I bought the Land Brothers. Some guy from eBay I bought it from. He's like, here's an extra gift. And if you guys are wondering, that is Sun Vulcan key, Vol Panther. So, but yeah, just the collecting.
And I'm so hoping the Ranger keys come to America next year when Super Mega Force comes out.
If they can get the concept right. But that's going into another topic.
Another topic for another day.
Yeah, so, Shadow Raptor, I want to thank you for joining me here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I like the idea of being like to bounce off somebody because, unfortunately, I do get a lack of comments on a lot of my videos, so it is hard for me to come up with topics, but definitely someone else to talk to is very helpful. And actually, just as a plug-in right here, I'll tell you, which of my videos do you like so far? Which is your favorite, other than this one, of course?
Out of the ones you've done so far, I really liked your... the one you just put up yesterday. I really liked
the worst Red Rangers.
But for that matter, I have to tie in the best ones too because you had some really good points. I really liked your points about Tommy and Jason.
Yeah, I really should have done a whole video on that, really kind of a thesis argument.
Their relationship could be a video unto itself. Yes.
And it may have to be. Well, again, I'm going to thank my guest, Shadow Raptor, for coming in. If you guys have any topics that you would like me to discuss, please post them in the comments or email me. And if you'd like Shadow Raptor to come back and have us debate something, definitely let us know, and we'll go ahead and do that. So thank you again. Have a wonderful day, and the tavern is now closed.